Hi there, my name is Tatiana and I'm marketing manager here at Help Desk Migration. Today I'm excited to interview one of the leading voices in customer experience, Stacy Sherman. Stacy is the founder of Doing CX Right, a keynote speaker, author, podcaster, and a trusted advisor. In this conversation, we will talk about how anyone, regardless of their role or title, can meaningfully influence the customer experience. So let us start with your journey. You've been in CX for the last 25 years. So can you share what first drew you to focus on building authentic connection between people and brands?
Yes. So my career started in sales and marketing, my formal education, my MBA, my work at my first job at AT&T for a very long time I stayed, and then continued in different corporate roles, I should say. What I found was going from sales to marketing and then working with all the different departments, there was this one thing that was missing. And that was some people were focused so much on expense reduction, some were revenue, some were about the customer, but not everybody. And so I saw the opportunity to be able to lean in and rally everyone, almost be like the glue to all the organization departments to say, we need to put the customer first. And what does that mean? What does that look like? How do we, as the workforce, because we own that, we are the brand. And so that started out kind of as customer service as a word, but what we were really doing is customer experience, looking at it from marketing, IT, HR, product, all the different business lines. And so then I literally moved into a role that was customer experience as a department to work with all the business lines. And so that's kind of the evolution of my career. And I've stuck with it because I know, I've studied that doing CX right is a brand differentiator. It is the way to growth in a sustainable way.
While I was doing the research on you, I thought that you are a very active person. So your career spans speaking, teaching, podcasting, consulting. So can you tell me how do you balance all these works?
The answer is I am super organized, very disciplined, very intentional on how I spend my time. I educate people also on time management and how do you really spend your time in a very productive way. Productive, not just by your definition, but for the people that you serve, the people that you love, my family, my work. And it's not guess, it's really a strategic way of time management to be able to get everything done.
Can you share like a tip?
Yes, I have many. So one of my favorite apps is called Things. And why I love it is first the user interface, the UX of it. It's really dummy proofed that you're taking your to-do list and you're taking it and specifically putting it into there's like 3 or 4 specific things. Today, upcoming, anytime, and someday. Because what happens oftentimes is we think we hear something or something we need to do, and then we put everything in today or one big long list, and that doesn't work. So when you put things that you think about, hear about, it could be business, it could be you told me about a fabulous movie, a documentary that I love. I will put it into the right place so that it keeps it organized. And then what I do is I take the things that are of today, which should only be really 3 things. Sometimes I'm bad and I'll do 10 things in there, and that's not a good practice because then you get overwhelmed. So anyway, but the reason I tell you this so importantly is that even in the customer experience space, many of my colleagues And clients say, well, I really don't have enough time to read all the customer feedback. I really don't have enough time to add the customer sentiments at our meeting and have it on the agenda. I don't have enough time to blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, you do. And here's a methodical way to be able to get everything done.
Okay, let us move on. So, on your website, and obviously in various places where there is your bio, there is a saying, exceptional CX doesn't require huge investments. So, can you share some low cost, high impact strategies that companies often overlook?
A lot of times people think they have to invest in huge technology to be able to serve their customers better. And in fact, there's studies that show that companies have too much technology and the technology is not even talking to each other. So it creates a data silo, human silo. And so that's why I say be very intentional and careful what you're throwing technology at, because that is high cost and many times worthy, but not in place of the human. And therefore, the human is able to do things that really can improve the customer experience and the employee experience too. So, for example, you could use AI, whether it's a paid or non paid version, to examine all of the feedback your customers are giving you from structured surveys and unstructured ratings and reviews and content on websites, social media chatter. Aggregate that and then be able to say, okay, what are the most pertinent pain points and sentiments, these emotional highs, I call them, emotional lows, and what can we do? What can we learn from this? That's not a high cost. That's literally, you can even use ChatGPT. There's much more sophisticated tools. But if you are like really starting out, you can block sensitive information, put it in there, and then have it tell you these are the common complaints your customers are saying. And by the way, I would bet that most of the problems are related to communication breakdowns. And that is something in your control to fix.
Another of your saying that really interested me was both and leading with heart while achieving financial goals. Can you tell me how does it work on practice?
When I talk about heart and science, I'm speaking about the heart is really that human heart, the sentiments, the empathy, and there's like core principles around listening to the customers and understanding what they're feeling. And then there is the science, taking the data and matching that, marrying it to really understand your customers and use that to design the experience. Now, design is the key important word here because customer experience doesn't happen by itself. It's not automatic. It is a thorough, intentional design where you're sitting with your teams and you're mapping out exactly the experiences your customers have. How do they learn about you? Marketing, typically. Learn, become aware. Buy, e-commerce, retail, sales teams, etc. Learn, buy, get, use, pay, and get help. Now, pay, I just want to emphasize for a second because a lot of times I'll talk to finance people and they'll say, I don't have a customer experience role. And I said, yes, you do. Because if the first part of the journey works so well, but someone paying their bill or has questions and it's frustrating and they can't get an answer from you or rectify a problem, the beginning of the journey doesn't matter.
Such a great leading information to my next question. So, at one of your recent conferences, you said that sustainable success is impossible without making CX accountability a shared priority. So, you've already mentioned that different employees in the different roles outside CX can influence CX. and customer loyalty. So can you tell me how they can influence customer experience and customer loyalty?
In my keynote speeches, I talk about how everyone from CEO to intern and everyone in between has to be accountable to the customer experience. And oftentimes, people in IT, in HR, in all these different departments, besides the CX leaders, when a problem happens for a customer, what they do is this: not my problem. Instead, and what I go through when I work with clients and I'm speaking from the stage is helping everyone understand you've got to do this. You have a customer experience role, and it's more than just being responsible for your business lane, your projects. It's really being accountable, going up and beyond that customers see, they feel, and they remember. And so I want people to realize that it's much more than being responsible for your role. It's taking that accountability. Now, a lot of times people say, well, I don't really own that function. This is my job. And so when we do journey mapping and bring different departments to the table, they then understand the holistic picture and where they begin and where their teammate, one begins, one ends. And so that domino effect, they understand so that they can serve the customer better and know where that handoff is. Appreciate their peer, their role. And even when they ask questions, it's not to be annoying. It's because they have that handoff. And so it becomes seamless for the customer. But if you're not doing that intentionally, the customer will leave. I know it. I've seen it, and I've seen the data.
You've already mentioned emotional high. So can you tell me how can organizations identify the emotional high moments and use them in their advantage?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So I have this belief that companies are still measuring customer experience in an old-fashioned way. Net Promoter Score, CSAT, and others. Now, if you haven't been measuring customer experiences, that is a great place to start, but don't end there. And if you have a really thorough CX practice, it is absolutely time to go past that. In fact, I will debate anyone that customer satisfaction is not enough. It's like, so if I ended the conversation with you, Tanya, and I told someone, yeah, I was satisfied. It was okay. It was fine. Well, is that really great? Is that exceptional? Is that maybe I'd want to come back and talk to you again? Maybe not. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's fine. Fine is not wow. Yes. And so I really believe that by measuring emotional highs, those moments where somebody really made you feel great, valued, important, went up and beyond the discretionary effort, and you can measure those, that's important because that has a compounding effect. And the flip side is true too, that if you are creating these emotional lows, frustration, the friction, the anger, those sentiments, you need to know that and be able to measure that and switch it to the highs. And it's a very methodical way.
Let us shift a little bit to your other roles, specifically your podcast and your LinkedIn courses. So first of all, about your podcast. So your podcast, Doing Sex Right, has gained global success. So can you tell me what inspired you to start it and how do you choose topics and guests for your podcast?
So this is a really, I hope, inspirational message to people listening because I started in 2017 timeframe a blog called Doing CX Right, a blog. I wrote articles. I had no idea if anyone would ever read them, and they did. And that started to propel my my voice. And I was working full time in a big telecom company, enterprise, but I wasn't giving the secret sauce away. I was sharing my views, my perspective. It was hobby. And then I ended up having these wonderful conversations with people. And so then I decided, well, I had been a guest on 50 podcasts. Now let me be the host of the show, host of the party, and build relationships with people. And so I was doing that while I was working at another company at that time and building those relationships and conversations so that I knew that I didn't know everything. I still don't know everything. We're all learning and all teaching each other. So that's what the podcast became as a source of research for me and relationship building. So then in 2023, I took all of the content and all the research and all the relationships and said, let me start my own company based on 25 years in different industries. And so that's really where the podcast blossomed, and I wasn't restricted anymore what I can and can't say working as an employee, and then picked guests that I feel have a lot to complement and teach research that's out there. One of my favorites was Fred Reicheld, who started the NPS system and from Bain. So he was, I believe, my second guest. I'm on 190 now. So after I had Fred Reicheld, then I started to have other fabulous, what I call superstars in the brands and also thought leaders and authors. Seth Godin is one of my favorites, and Daniel Pink, that they're exceptional authors. And so you could even take non-CX topics and really bring it back to how do you serve people, humans, with the AI and technology enabling it. And that's where it kind of continues, and it's evolved from when I started a long time ago to now. It just keeps evolving, and I never run out of content.
Well, I can agree with non-CX topic because last year I had such a great conversation with Sandra Thompson about emotional intelligence and its influence on CX. So I definitely agree with you. Let us speak a little bit about your LinkedIn learning courses. There are multiple, so I have just one general question. What are the key takeaways you hope your students will put into practice from any of them?
Gosh, I can spend an hour just on this topic, but number one, I would say the importance of bringing your cross teams together. If you want business growth, if you want real loyalty, stopping the loss of your profitable customers and your valued talent. I'm not talking about how do you get more sales. I'm saying loving the ones you have and keeping them, who they grow your business. Then you need to design the customer experience, bring your people to the table, and literally methodically map out the customer experience, validate it with real customers that what you designed is exactly what they want. And then you go fix those gaps. One of the courses dives deep into that topic and also lasers into communication, omni-channel communication, because that happens to be such a clear breakdown in customer experience across every company I've worked with and been in, where you have marketing says one thing, customer gets an offer, and then something goes wrong. They can't put a promo code, let's say, and they're checking out on e-commerce. And then they call customer service, and the customer service agent has no idea what offer you're talking about. And there's a breakdown in that communication. Or same thing when you're connecting with a chat bot, and then it finally gets you to a human, and the human has no idea what you were talking to with the bot. So communication breakdowns, how do you stop that? How do you prevent the frustration is one of the courses. The other course is really for customer service teams on how do you improve the agent experience, because agent experience, the training, the recruitment, it's expensive, and there's a lot of great agents out there. How do you keep them motivated? They are your front line. So what do you do so that they don't leave? You don't have that cost of all the training you invested in them. How do you enable them better to develop those relationships with customers? So that course is really for the customer service leaders. Agents have such an important role, and I emphasize that.
Let us on to my favorite section. Actually, you have already touched upon it, automation. So how do you see AI and automation coexist in the human-centered experience without losing empathy and connection?
Yeah, I mean, one of them I mentioned before is one of my favorite use cases that you can't possibly, you, meaning you, me, humans, can't possibly read every single comment that a customer or a prospect or a detractor says about you. There's too much out there, again, of surveys and social media banter. So the technology, and there's so much available in platforms that can aggregate, centralize, prioritize all of the pain points and the happy points and allow you to make business decisions from it. So the technology is enabling the human to make really good decisions, and the human knows the business the best. So, AI only knows what you give it, but you, the human, especially working day in, day out in the brand, know it best. Secondly, I love the technology in helping the human boost confidence. Now, what I mean by that is in customer service, these agents or sales people, any frontline, before they go talk to a real customer, they can practice on a simulation. The technology actually acts like a customer and can be angry, can be calm, can be all these different personalities. And so the human can train with the simulation and then practice, and then actually, when they feel confident, be able to share that practice sessions with their manager till they evaluate, okay, you're ready now to go talk to a live customer. So that's where technology is supporting the human, and it's a great use case. I've seen it so many times. There's a lot of different platforms that I love, but that's another great example to go do.
If we speak about doing that, are there any pitfalls that companies should avoid while integrating AI into customer experience?
I'll say one example is when I worked at a contact center outsourced solution, a BPO. The agents were doing the best they can to answer the customer conversation questions right there and then on the spot. They're measured for quality, but they're also measured for hurry up, get off the phone, which is a whole nother topic. So they have the library of content that they can use to help answer a question for the customer on that call or chat, either by phone or by typing their answers if it's chat conversation. And what happens is, even when you use technology, if the library of content is not updated, if the product teams and marketing and everybody who has to provide the library of answers to the person, the agent with the customer, if it's not updated, if it's outdated, they're going to get garbage, right? They're not going to get helpful information. And so that's a pitfall because it can end up really deflating the agent, the salesperson, whomever is talking to the customer. It can really impact their credibility and trust, and the customer will use that moment of truth, that interaction, to form their opinion of the brand.
As my final question, what is one actionable tip that any employee outside sales or in sales can implement today to influence customer experience?
So I'll give you one easy, fast answer and one that they might need to call me on. So one easy one is go to your meeting tomorrow at work and bring one piece of feedback from a customer that you can see, whether it's from a survey or you listened in on a customer service call. I highly recommend that, no matter what your title is, or something you see on social media. bring that to your meeting and have everybody there look at that and say, how could we solve that? What could we do together to improve that customer experience? And if you really want to take it to the next level, give that to your marketing team to say, can you please respond to that customer that left that review or that comment and tell them, here's what we're going to do because you left that feedback. Close the loop. And that's very powerful. You can do that very easily. Now, I also encourage people, and this is where you need some confidence and boosting and maybe some pilot programs, but every person listening to this can be a change agent. Don't wait for permission. If you're in finance or you're in HR and you say, well, I'm not in customer experience, I'm going to say, yes, you are. Call me because I'm going to explain to you how you can be a change agent, boost your leadership, and boost business results because you became that change agent. You brought the cross teams together to talk about the customer experience. It can be the back of a napkin that you literally say, okay, how do our customers today learn about us? What are all the ways and buy and get and use and pay and get help? Let's do this together, even informally. And you'll realize, oh, wait, there's some gaps here. Don't wait for someone if they're not doing it today. You do it. You have a customer experience role, regardless of your title.
Thank you so much for your answers for this interview. It was a great pleasure for me, and I think that anyone who will read this or listen to this will gain so much knowledge and so much tips that they can practice right away. So thank you so much for that.